The deadliest domestic terrorist attack in U.S. history is getting the docuseries treatment from National Geographic. I'm talking to director Carrie Isfrin, survivor Amy Downs. So, Amy, I mean, it's 30 years coming up for the anniversary of this. Anniversary is a hard word to say, but what do you remember about that day?
Well, I remember everything. I was sitting at my desk. It was a normal spring morning. And when the bomb went off, I fell 3 floors and I was buried under around 10 feet of rubble. It took them about 6.5 hours to free me. But I have a happy ending to my story. I was freed. 18 of my 33 coworkers were killed.
It's just such a tragedy that we remember. I was 3 years old at the time, but these are stories that people need to be told. I remember kind of watching the Today Show in the morning, like, okay, Timothy McVeigh is being executed all this time, but I didn't really understand what was happening. Carrie, walk us through this three-part docuseries that takes us from the beginning to the end of this story.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the things that motivated me to want to do this series, is to really create something which is a historical record for people who don't necessarily remember what happened or don't necessarily know the ins and outs of it. And what we really wanted to do was to put front and center the voices of those people who were there that day, and combine that with archival footage from the day. And at some point or another, all of the interviewees appear in the archive. And I did that intentionally because we wanted people to have quite a visceral understanding of what happened that day, so that people can really understand not just those experiences, but to really appreciate the resilience that came after it, having lived through something so harrowing. And so the series really is an opportunity to hear from those people, and to really try and reflect on the lessons that have been that have been learned in the immediate aftermath and in the years since.
Amy, I mean, these people, these survivors, you included, came together in such a resilient way on that day, the days after, as they're still trying to find people, as they're trying to go on that manhunt to find the bomber. What about that time do you remember as, okay, we're going to come together, we're going to survive this, we're going to get through this together?
Just one of the small things that impacted me that I remember is on the 8th day in the hospital. I remember looking out of the window in the middle of the day and seeing all of the cars on the highway below driving with their headlights on. Now, this was back when you had to manually turn those on, and they were doing that as a symbol of love and hope and support for our community. And so I just so vividly remember all of those things, all the way down to the small headlights being turned on, that people did to come together.
It's such a great thing to see, because we know people come together in these moments of tragedy. And this is the National Geographic treatment. I mean, it is top notch. It is great footage. It is great survival stories. Carrie, what was it like to be joined with National Geographic to tell this story?
It's an honor to tell this story, and I think that the level of trust that people like Amy put in us, to sit with us, and the way we do it is we do quite long interviews. We'll take the whole day, and for people to sit there and do that with us, and go through that, the deepest, most troubling moments. It's an honor and a privilege. And as a team, I know we just wanted to get it right, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't just reliving that day for the sake of it. People have to understand what happened that day, but they also have to understand, that Oklahoma City is a place that's shaped by the bombing for sure, but it's certainly not defined by it.
Such a great way to put that. And Amy, what do you hope people take away after watching Oklahoma City bombing One Day in America?
Well, I hope that they walk away with just a renewed feeling of that they can make it through tough things. Watching the resilience of the people that lived through it, and the courage of the rescuers that risked their lives to save people and to try to find people. I hope that they leave the documentary feeling a little bit encouraged by that, and some thought-provoking comments in the documentary about extremism and differences and guarding against hatred. I hope that resonates.
Sure, it will for audiences. And Carrie, I want to bring up one more point. Obviously, we have to discuss Timothy McVeigh in the docuseries, but he is not the focal point like in other true crime docuseries, other things. How important was that to you to get these survivors front and center in this, and then mention him second, because this is their story, the resilience, the survivors?
It was really important to me, actually, that we got that balance right, because you're right. People do need to have some understanding of who he was, and you know why to an extent you can know why he did what he did. But I wanted that to be there only so people understood, particularly in the third episode, you know, the community and the survivors search, I guess, for justice and healing. For me, his story and you know what his motivations were only relevant in that context to me. And so it was really important to us that you know we got that balance right between being informative, informing people in a way that actually, you know, the series might spark a conversation about the dangers of extremism, but without foreshadowing you know, the voices of those who lived through it.
It was an incredibly well done docuseries. Amy, thank you so much for sharing your story here. Make sure you watch all 3 episodes. Oklahoma City Bombing, One Day in America, April 2nd on National Geographic, streaming the next day on Hulu and Disney Plus. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.